Hello guys and gals, and welcome! So Diablo 4 Open Beta has been in the swing for a full day, and we also managed to kill the world boss a couple times. That was pretty fun. Again, I've had a chance to actually visit and play around with my Necromancer, which I've had a lot of fun with. And there's some pretty cool builds. I'm actually very pleased with the Necromancer overall. Just to give you, before I even start in this video, just give you my impressions of the Necromancer. I very much feel like the Necromancer in Diablo 4 is very much so like the Necromancer in Diablo 2. In fact, it felt like putting on an old pair of gloves or an old pair of socks. Like, they just fit quite well, and like there was really no big deal. Like, I have my army, I've got my golem, I have to summon them from corpses. There's corpses on the ground that I can use. I have my corpse explosion, and the corpse explosion feels right. And then just in general, the character just really felt like the Necromancer from Diablo 2, and I had a lot of fun with it. However, there are some pretty crazy builds that you can make, and usually they revolve around things like this ability, which is Blood Mist triggers corpse explosion on surrounding corpses. When Blood Mist detonates a corpse, its cooldown is reduced by 0.7 seconds. So what I've done is I've created a build around this, and other people may have done it too, but I didn't cheat and look at anybody else's homework. So what I did was I actually created a build around this particular item. So I got Reap, and the reason why I got Reap is because it has a chance to it forms a corpse once every 5 seconds. I also built up this particular ability, Hued Flesh, which allows me to have a 12% lucky hit chance to make a corpse every single time I dish out damage. I capped out Blood Mist to its maximum amount, and I also grabbed the Enhanced Blood Mist, which reduces the cooldown of Blood Mist by 2 seconds if I overpower, and also the Leave Behind one corpse every second. I also went for Max Corpse Explosion, of course, because that also affects the damage, and went with the Blighted Corpse Explosion, which allows me to get the really cool, like, damage over time puddle on the ground. Now, you can go with the other way, which is the Blade Corpse Explosion, and either one of them worked just fine with this build, but I did find that this one worked better with bosses, because it applied the damage over effect many, many times. I also am running the Fueled by Death, which is you deal 8% increased damage for 4 seconds after consuming a corpse, up to 12%. And basically what this does is every single time I use a corpse for corpse explosion, I get a damage buff. And as I burn more and more corpses, I get more and more return. I'm also grabbing Decrepify just so that I can spam that on monsters so they get the slowdown and what like that. And it does help my damage a little bit because I do have some damage bumps from attacking monsters that are under crowd control effects. And other than that, there's really not a whole lot more that I do with this build. And as you will see, the build is actually kind of insane. I forgot my minions. Okay, so with the minions, what I did was I have my Reapers carving off a corpse, so it's a 15% chance to carve flesh off enemies. So I get one corpse 15% of the time, 4 minions, so you got 4 minions, 4 15% chances. It adds up to a lot of corpses. The mages, I ended up going with the Shadow Mages with the chance to stun, and the Bone Golem, which is the only one you can have access to right now, I did the sheds a corpse. So each time your Bone Golem takes up to 20% of its maximum life and damage, it sheds a corpse. So I have corpses like raining from the sky everywhere. And as you will see in just a second, when I actually use the ability, things get crazy really fast. Let's get a couple corpses on the ground, and then let's use our Blood Mist ability. Now, as you can see, even though I just used Blood Mist, what happened? It's already back off cooldown, because this ability right here reduces the cooldown of it by 0.7 seconds for every corpse that I consume. And I consumed so many corpses that it came immediately back off cooldown. And I have so many corpses on the ground at all times that I can just spam it to oblivion and back. And the really crazy thing about this ability is that, number one, Blood Mist makes you immune to all damage during the duration. It is a massive, like, defensive cooldown. And by utilizing this method, you can literally just spam the defensive cooldown over and over again, and also annihilate every corpse from existence over and over again, and also get the nice damage bumps and various things that go on for consuming the corpses. And you don't even have to actually use a core skill. There's no spenders involved in this build. It's literally just corpse explosions and blood mist. And obviously every single kind of corpse generator that you can possibly imagine. And the really cool thing that I think about this build that is something that we don't have to worry about, I don't think this build's making it to live. It's a little bit too powerful, alright? It's just something that's fun to play around with in beta, and it's something that I can almost guarantee you is going to get balanced out in the future. Because it just doesn't make any sense for it not to. I'm going to explain why a build like this is going to get nerfed, and I'm also going to go over why you shouldn't be surprised. So, it would be okay if Blood Mist was an actual damaging ability, because this kind of makes sense from a damage ability standpoint. The problem with this, and the reason why it's probably going to get nerfed, is because Blood Mist is a defensive cooldown. As a defensive cooldown, it is so powerful because you are essentially immune to all damage during the duration of Blood Mist. And by using the reductions in cooldown, as well as getting enough corpses on the ground, you are essentially always immune to damage, because you are always using Blood Mist, and every single time you use Blood Mist, it's back off cooldown. If you do it properly, the skill never has a cooldown. It is always up for you to use at all times, which means you are always immune and invulnerable to all damage. I recently just did an Ashava run with this character, and despite the fact that Ashava has some pretty devastating abilities, at any point that I felt like I was in danger, I always had Blood Mist available to me to be able to escape danger. Even in situations where I would literally almost die, I would just simply switch to Blood Mist and immediately save my life. And it even works pretty good on bosses, because you can do one of two different setups. So you can do the number one, which is the poison one that I'm doing, or you can also do the corpse explosion one. So if you do the corpse explosion one, it looks a little different, and it doesn't work as well on bosses. It looks like this. And the corpses are then gone at that point, so they no longer dish out any damage past that point. And the reason why I'm going specifically with the damage over time one is because they last for 6 seconds, and they dish out a pretty decent amount of damage, and they also stack very nicely. And they sit underneath of the boss for a very long period of time. So when you're fighting a boss with these particular ones, the blighted ones, they just do really well. In fact, you know what? Let's go fight a boss right now. We should have one coming up. And with the damage output, there's two different ways you can generate corpses for bosses. Obviously, you can utilize this Reap ability, which is better for groups, or you can take advantage of the Decompose ability. So the Decompose ability also generates corpses. It's 1 every 2.5 seconds, and it also takes advantage of this passive, which generates more corpses. And in the process, what you're doing is you're creating as many corpses as you can on a single target. So this one works much better for trash. And this one works much better for bosses. So we're going to swap this out for bosses. If you haven't done this before, the easiest way to swap out is to take one from the top and then put it into one on the bottom. Take one there, and then take one there, and then put this back at the top. It's pretty easy to do, and you can swap out lower abilities that way. And now we're going to swap out to Decompose for the Bousy Bouse. And I should be able to generate about 1,000 corpses underneath of them and annihilate them from existence. Let's see how it goes, shall we? Alright, there's all our corpses. Of course, this isn't the boss room. This is the room before the boss room.
I'm not ready yet.
Come on, big old boss. Isn't the boss room right ahead? I thought the boss room was right ahead. See, now you're making a fool out of me. Man, some of these things are just graphic. I mean, look at this couple right here, just all tied up. Hey, I was trying to look at the... Y'all just gonna be rude like that, alright. Let's let out Big Boy over here, too. Come here. Come here, Big Boy. Yeah, get some corpses underneath your feet. Alright. Now look at the HP just melt. Just bring. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm finding the game to be very interesting, though. And what I mean by very interesting is I really do enjoy the wide variety of ways that you can create characters. And the unfortunate side effect of being able to create a wide variety of characters is that you will end up with overpowered builds. Alright? And it's Blizzard's job to fix that. So their job is going to be to have to fix those things. And there's nothing wrong with that. Alright? It's the natural consequence of having a robust and varied system of skills and effects that the players can take advantage of. All right? Always remember that like this kind of thing is just the side effect of the good part of video games. And the developers will nerf this stuff. But in the meantime, you can play around with it and have fun with it in beta. And you can run around blood misting everything to death and watching everything melt into oblivion. Oh wow, 2 chest armors from 1 monster. What? Your maximum number of skeletal mages is increased by 2. Boy, you better give me that dujink right now. Don't even. Hell yeah! Now I got 5 skeletal mages, suckers. Ooh, a sword. Basic skills gain 23% attack speed. Holy crap, another chest? What the hell is going on up in here? I ain't found this many freaking items in like the whole day. And now they just popping out of the woodwork like candy. Basic skills grant a 25% reduction for 4 seconds. Damage reduction. Ooh, it's like that's a tanky piece. Come on out of there, Mr. Dujank guy. Corpses, 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 corpses. Boom, 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 boom. Hey, what's up, High Priestess? I'll come and generate some corpses, and I'll be over there in a second. And I'll blow up everything, and I'll kill you dead. Anyway, I just wanted to show you guys this crazy, ridiculous build. You probably might have already seen it on the YouTube channel or something, because I figured other people have probably figured this out by now. In fact, somebody was telling me about it, like, before I even figured it out. They were like, have you heard about that blood mist ability? And I'm like, I don't know. But it's really cool, and there's lots of really cool things that you can do like this in the game. I had a freaking druid set up who was literally just shooting lightning bolts everywhere. It was absolutely insane. Like, everywhere I walked, there was just, like, lightning striking down from the sky and lightning shooting out of everything. I had a freaking barbarian that literally just uses one ability and everything on the screen is just bleeding into oblivion death. I did a rabies druid that literally poisoned everything on the screen. Like, could literally walk into an area, just start attacking, and everything on the screen would be poisoned and dying from poison. And not just rabies either. Like, literally every single attack that this freaking werewolf druid did was poisoning things. And it was absolutely hilarious to just run into a group of monsters, start swinging my claws, and everything was getting poisoned. And it's so very much fun to come up with these crazy builds on these characters. There's hundreds of crazy builds that you can potentially come up with for characters. And I think that's the one thing that I like about this game the most so far, is just the crazy, ridiculous amount of theory crafting that you can do. You can sit here on this panel for hours. I mean, hours, maybe even days, just theory crafting builds, coming up with cool ways that you can take advantage of legendaries, building things like a melee summon mancer, a ranged summon mancer, a corpse explosion mancer, a blood mist mancer, like a blood mancer specifically. You could build things like a pure minion mancer with like Army of the Dead and some other cool things. And like, we're only level 25. The sheer number of crazy builds that you can create so far in this game is very promising to its longevity. Because one of the main things that makes Diablo 2 so amazing, and the reason why people come back to it time and time again, is because of all of the crazy cool builds that you could create in Diablo 2. All of the fun theory crafting that you can do. You can create everything from a frickin' bow sorceress to a frickin' melee necromancer and everything in between. And Diablo 2 is just great like that. And it honestly seems like Diablo 4 has followed suit very, very poignantly, because there are so many different ways that you can build a character in Diablo 4. And I mean, yeah, you can go online and you can just look up a build guide and you can just follow someone else's build. But if you want to take the time to be creative, if you want to take the time to build your own character and have fun discovering and learning how to make characters, like, this game has hundreds, if not thousands, of ways that you could potentially build a character and have fun with it. And I freaking love it. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when it's just me showing off some crazy OP Blood Mist build. And as always, keep watching.